National Affairs, proudly broadcasting from the SATV's Gulshan studio. My name is Shamsul Alam Pantho. As I bring in the discussion points for around the globe, today we have a special guest in the studio, of course, Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin. I welcome you once again back on the show. It has been a while that you have graced this studio. She is, of course, a former professor of international relations at Dhaka University and is currently an international political analyst. So I welcome you onto this program. Alongside, we will have our District of Columbia, Washington geopolitical correspondent Norman Floyd Barnes joining us on this program. A very good morning to you, Norman. There are some updates that I want to share with you before I get your comments on how you think the world order is being progressed. We see that almost 2 United Nations interim force in Lebanon, peacekeepers being killed in an explosion in southern Lebanon that is making the headlines. Alongside, the Israeli parliament on Monday passed a controversial law allowing the death penalty for Palestinian prisoners. As the minute the speaker had announced this passing of the bill, we have seen Itamar Ben-Gvir celebrating inside the halls. And not only so, Donald Trump is threatening to destroy Iran's energy sites and desalination plants if the talks fail. Still, we do not know who he is negotiating with in the Iranian government. I want to begin with you, Norman. What are the other updates that you have with us, and how are you seeing the day's mandates going forward? What is your observations, Norman?
Good morning, greetings. The 31st day of March. We move on with this conflict, this war. Here in Washington, Congress is on what we call a break. We have an Easter holiday break, so nothing is happening on the floor here. The focus is on the Middle East. Right now, it appears that the war is escalating, is spreading throughout the region, and more incidents are happening in the Strait of Hormuz. Tanker, I understand a tanker was attacked yesterday, as the President of the United States has stated that he will inflict harmful pain to the energy infrastructure of Iran if they do not open up these channels and they do not stop these strikes. Iran response is more strikes, more discussions about preparation for the military. They are stating that they are waiting for the United States to do a land invasion. And the focus right now is how many troops, when, where, how, and if the President of the United States is going to inflict this land invasion. So basically, the troops are being, again, positioned, but the timing and the green light for that is still somewhere in the distance. Thank you.
Of course, a very important update coming from Norman regarding the troops on the ground. We were theorizing this for almost 1 month here in the studio. I want to focus with Professor Amina Mohsin. You were hearing Norman, and we've seen the effects of war spilling out into our region as well. It has had a drastic effect on the growth of Bangladesh. But I want you to comment on the fact, Donald Trump, we were talking about him even earlier on in a earlier on program, his motives and the end game to what he will achieve from conducting this war is still blurry. I want to know, how are you feeling about it? What are your observations, the humanistic impact of the loss of life?
Thank you very much. Let me begin with your last question, that what are the humanitarian aspects of this war. Greetings, Norman. Norman said that it has like spread in the region, but if we look around, it is affecting all the countries in the world, particularly countries like ours. South Asia, and if you look at Bangladesh today, like people line up for gas and fuel right from early in the morning, like what we call Fajr. Fajr means, when the dawn day starts,
Right.
or the dawn breaks. So and one never knows when one will get the fuel. So you can see, Dhaka streets are quite empty, but this is the end of the holidays, Eid holidays. It should be crowded at this point of time. It's not like that at all. And most of us are going online for our work. I mean, teaching has mostly gone online. Not only that, prices of things have soared up. And if you look at emergency services, they have come to a halt. And it's a very pitiable and dirable situation. And for economies like ours, it is a very plightful situation, to say the least. And this is not, what is, when you say that what are the spillover effects of the humanitarian, I mean, now everybody, like even small boys in the street of Dhaka city or all over Bangladesh, they know the name of the American president. And it is not something which augurs well for the for America, for the USA, because one had looked at, I mean, there were people who looked at America as the beacon of democracy or human rights. But right at this moment, I mean, one can see that what is happening and how, opinions have shifted. And I pointed out earlier that, there were people who looked at America, not that everybody looked at America like that. Let me qualify that.
Yes.
And coming to the other point, what is America's objective? I mean, I don't think this is an American war. At this point of time, the US is fighting a war for Israel, and this is Israel's war. And if you look at it, America itself is not clear about its objectives. When they started off the war, they were very clear that they want a regime change, and they wanted the people to come out and celebrate all those things.
Right.
But now, yes, I think a couple of days back or only last evening, I was watching in Al Jazeera, the United States Secretary of State had given an exclusive interview.
Right.
In that interview, one found that what he stated to be the American objectives in the war are quite different. He didn't talk of regime change, though the president of the US said that that regime has already changed in Iran, and they are in negotiations, but one doesn't know with whom he is negotiating and which regime has changed, because like Iran has denied it, and we are seeing it, that a regime, I mean, if he means that the leadership or the person has changed, true, but the regime is something very different. The system remains intact.
Right.
So the regime has not changed. And let me conclude by saying that what the US Secretary of State said, that their objective is to annihilate the defense system of Iran.
Of course.
Which of course they have not been able to, and I don't think it is possible.
Right. Very important remarks regarding this war. One thing that I picked out, it is not a war of attrition or war which belongs to the Americans. However, Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. They will not have a nuclear weapon. And these are the comments that were made preemptive to the strike on the Supreme Leader last month. Of course, if it comes to the nuclear warfield, we understand that such a distinctive action may occur in the coming days. We had signs and signatures right before attack on Iran. We've seen the sword in Venezuela. The leader of the nation was captured by the US forces. He was brought into a New York court for his crimes, and of course now there is an interim solution in Venezuela. Lots of its oil are called being sanctioned. So I want to come to Norman Floyd Barnes. Fuel and crude oil is a commodity as far as I know it, and people do require this in a movement of their daily lives, and it has come into a halt all over the globe in the last 32 to 33 days. And not only so, alongside we are seeing a distinctive regime change. It would be too much to call it. The No Kings protest happening, the third round in all 50 states, which says that we will not allow Donald Trump to decide the distinctive future for common Americans. I want to know from Norman Floyd Barnes, this No Kings protest was hailed, and it was, of course, garnering a lot of media attention. What are the outcomes of such an action? And of course, by the end of the year, we have a midterm election. Donald Trump's rating is at 36% as at latest of last week. So what are the observations you see? These protests are, of course, common Americans joining in, understanding that their daily commodity is on the rise. Norman.
Yes, thank you. Like I stated, we are in a Easter holiday recess period of time, so government activities, lawmakers are not here. But the consensus is that the people, through the No Kings, you notice through the No Kings rallies and parades across the United States, it's very clear that they do not approve of the current administration's activity regards to the homeland and, more importantly, the foreign policy dealing with this situation in the Middle East. Uh, we still, as a people, do not understand our role in this conflict with Iran. Why we there? What we doing? And we are getting conflicting information that we're in week 5 of 6 week project program, which we will be ending. They keep telling us that the war is over. The enemy has been defeated, but we still getting these news flashes about attacks, killings, death going on. So it's a disconnect between the communications of the current administration and the people. At the same time, all this is happening. We're noticing increases in everything we do, from gasoline to food, transportation. Everything is costing more, and there's no explanation why this is happening, except that we are engaged in a conflict which is causing problems around the world. There's difficulties getting raw materials in. Farmers are now saying they can't grow their crop because they can't get fertilizer. The fertilizer emanates from that region, and they don't have the access to that, so things cannot grow. So the markets are now looking at the future. So where do we go from here? Where do we go? How long is this conflict war is going to continue? All in purposes, it looks like it's not going to end anytime soon because of, we got the Houthis coming in. We got other parts. There's even talk about African nations getting involved in this global event.
Correct.
So right now, the world is basically staging and waiting and see exactly what is real and what is not real. Right now, we're getting a lot of artificial information, a lot of promises, but the only thing we're seeing is basically the cost of living is increasing, and our troops are now being deployed to a mission which no one understands.
Of course, that is a very drastic situation, as you said, that troops will be deployed into a situation that even the troops themselves cannot understand. And the axis, the triangle that has been created in the Middle East, we see Yemen's Houthis coming in and declaring that they have officially joined the war as of last weekend. We've also seen Hezbollah in southern Lebanon trying to fend off this ground invasion by Israel, and of course Iran and IRGC Navy as well as airspace. Donald Trump says that he has decimated these forces. How much of that would be accurate? And the center point of the Iranian defensive, I would say, is the Shahed drones. Now, this piece of technology, or this creation, this item has been so important in this war leading up, that Iran is trying to defend against 2 nuclear powers. Of course, I'm talking about United States and the state of Israel. And not only so, a leader from Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, had recently made travel plans towards Middle Eastern nations, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, as well as Kuwait, and today, as the news suggests, inside Jordan. This person, of course, is involved in the Russia-Ukraine war of the last 4 years, in which Russia has used these Shahed tribe drones. Understanding the need for experience and how he has handled this kind of warfare, he is now visiting these Middle Eastern nations so that they could also learn and create a defense cooperation ties. So I want to ask Professor Amena Mohsin, what do you think about this strategy? We have Russia, Ukraine on one side. We also have US and Israel trying to attack Iran. What do you think?
No, look, it's a very, I mean, these are, all wars are unnecessary. And this is also a very unnecessary war. See, Iran is seriously thinking of withdrawing from the NPT. And one can't blame Iran for that if they do withdraw. So, at the, when the COVID was on, we all had thought that maybe the world would be much more humanitarian after in the post-COVID period. But right after the war, after the end of the COVID, we saw the world plunging into major wars. And this war, I mean, if you look at it geopolitically as well as geoeconomically, this is a very dangerous situation. And the Middle Eastern countries, you look at the United States, it has 800 military bases over the world. I think Europe has done it very rightly to say that it is not their war.
They have made it very clear.
They have made it very clear, and we know that US is very upset about it. But one has to understand that fundamental shifts are taking place in geopolitics, and US is unable to leverage the kind of pressure that it expected or that it thought that it would be able to extract from its allies. And quite rightly so, because if you look at the world today, it's a multipolar world. And it's not only politically, economically connected, but climatically or environmentally also it is connected. Look at the environmental effect that this war would create. And this polarization of the world, Zelensky, I don't understand why he doesn't learn his lessons. I mean, and also the Middle Eastern countries which are dependent, very sadly, totally on the United States for their security.
Right. And so it has failed because the security moved towards Israel more than these Middle Eastern nations.
And they have to understand that this is not a world. I mean, they are not the sole custodians of the Muslim heritage. I mean, there is this Asia also, the other part of the world also, and how they are viewing them. And Iran, I mean, it is a direct challenge, not only an ideological challenge to the West, its system is also a challenge to the United States. And the way the war is being fought, I mean, today it is 31 days down the lane. And you can see that they have been unable to unnerve or bring about cracks within the Iranian system. So one has to look at the different conceptions of warfare also. Like you were talking about, boot soldiers in the field. Americans dread that.
Right.
And we have seen like it is one thing to win a war, win a battle, and it is another thing to win the war. We have seen what happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Iraq. Vietnam is a big lesson.
Some decades back, yes.
Yes. So it will, maybe the US, because of its superior military technology or might, it might be able to win small battles, but in the ultimate analysis, it is Iran which is winning the war. I'm talking about, making a distinction between battle and war.
Right.
And Iran, I mean, this is a civilization. It is a civilizational history of more than 6,000 years. It's not an artificial state. It is not Venezuela.
Right.
We have to remember that. And for the first time after Hazrat Ali, this is I mean, they are the Shia community. This is for the first time they have a supreme leader who was assassinated, and this is martyrdom.
To them, it is martyrdom, and martyrdom is very important to them.
It is very important to them. And Iranians may have their differences between them. They might not, there are people who might, I mean, I'm talking people who are inside Iran, they might want flexibility within the region, the regime. But it is another thing to be attacked and their supreme leader to be killed.
Right.
And the soldiers, the revolutionary soldiers, they are ready to, you know, lay down their lives. So, and if you look at Iran's geography, geography is in Iran's favor.
Right. The terrain is mountainous terrain.
Mountainous terrain, and Iran has got depth of territory. So, you know, it would turn out to be a war of attrition where you bleed the other side.
Right.
And what happened in Afghanistan, that should be a big lesson for the United States. What happened in Vietnam, what happened in Laos, small country like Laos. I mean, so one has to keep these things in mind. I think European countries have taken their lessons from those wars. But United States, I wouldn't put the entire United States, this particular regime in the United States maybe is looking at it in a different way. But I would say geopolitically the balance is tilting in favor of Iran, and you know, there is something called public perception also. If you want to claim yourself as a superpower, you need to have that kind of support also. People that other
Right.
countries look up to you.
The restraint, the ability to show restraint.
You know, the restraint, the responsibility. When your leader speaks, I mean, your words have to be credible.
Right.
But at this point of time, unfortunately, the United States is not acting like a responsible power. And Norman himself said that the people in the United States are at a loss to understand that why they are there.
Of course,
What
very
is
important
happening.
statements coming from Professor Amina Mohsin in the studio. It has been a very interesting first half into international affairs. Before going into a break, let me give you a fact. A 2019 Pew Research Center poll showed that about 64% of US veterans surveyed believe that the Iraq war was not worth fighting. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a short commercial break. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantho.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. Back to International Affairs today. In the studio, I am joined with Professor Amina Mohsin as well as Norman Floyd Barnes from District of Columbia. And I want to ask Norman this important question. You mentioned some African states trying to come in to this war. We took to social media, we figured it out. A Ugandan general was stating that it would come to Israel's defense if it's seen Israel was losing out in this matter. And there is a news that actually coincides with this news coming out. The IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, are seeing a manpower shortage to uphold their positions. However, if you compare it in contrast to Iran, even after killing of majors or leaders, the top brass of the military personnel, there is always someone calling the shots afterwards. So it's important to understand how this battle is going on. And not only so, in the studio, Professor Amina Mohsen spoke slightly about the European nations and the lack of support of NATO coming into this war. There has been an example set by Spain in which the leader of Spain had said that he will not see to any kind of involvement into this war on Iran. So there has been numerous condemnation from around the world, and eventually time is the matter here. The longer this war lingers on, the more lives are going to be affected. Some will face unnecessary death, and some will have to live on with the consequences. So I want to see how do you expand on this? Even Europe and NATO did not seem to support a U.S. action inside Iran. Norman.
Yes, thank you. Due to time, I'm going to be somewhat brief on this. Trust. Right now, I mentioned no one understands why the U.S. is involved in this event. Israel, we see Israel is on a destructive mission of destroying the region, particularly Lebanon. We still have Gaza in ruins. It looks like that tradition is carrying over to Lebanon, and the U.S. is a partner viewpoint by the world to this travesty conducted by Israel. We are engaged in a global conflict. This is a global conflict that is conducted in a regional manner. The United States is soliciting NATO and its allies to join them to help defeat this country. However, just like our citizens, just like our officials here, no one understands why we are engaged in this. So, with lessons learned through past conflicts over the century, why would a country engage in a mission that they can't see a exit plan, a solution to? We have enough issues going on in the world with our economy, health issues, climate issues, everything else. So why are we engaging with a country for something that no one understands how this thing is going to end? There's no clear-cut exit plan. There's no reason why to get in except that the countries know if they engage in a battle with Iran, there'll be losses. This is not an easy Venezuela type of situation or other countries. Iran has a Persian background over 6,000 years, and that is not going to go away because a country, the United States, wants their oil or wants to do things what they feel in this region. So countries are very hesitant on participating in this activity because they don't see an out. They see a get in, involvement, expansion, and particularly harm's ways coming to their country. They see, like in the United States, we have issues. Hezbollah, they just announced yesterday we had a synagogue attack a couple of weeks ago, and they announced that it was related to Hezbollah, a relationship there that is considered a terrorist attack. So countries are looking at that. Okay, so if I engage with the United States, can I expect to be attacked by Iran? And the answer has to be yes. There's no protection. The U.S. can't protect them. The U.S. is committed to protecting the Middle East, the Gulf states. And what do we see? The Gulf states are being pulverized. They're being attacked, and nothing we can do about that. So engaging in this war of one against this country without clear objectives is something that people now wisen up to and say, hey, I'm not going to get involved in someone else's fight, and I don't see an exit plan. All I see is hurt, and pain to my country. And this thing will go on and on and on and on throughout the globe. So what I'm seeing is that countries are very reluctant in engaging in this endless war, a continuation of what Israel is doing, an endless war with the world. So that's what I see. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman Floyd Barnes. Very important update coming regarding the end game, regarding how this endless war is being prolonged. And I want to come to the studio with Amina Mohsin. The case study is regarding Spain. Of course, earlier on, Spain has said that it will not increase its defense spending as when the NATO had to increase it to 5%. They said they see no reason for it to increase at such a standard. And of course, when it came to this war, Spain has said it has closed its airspace to US military aircraft involved in the war and refused to allow US forces to use Spanish bases. Of course, this is a direct and concrete action and not just words. They said no to this war. There is no advantage of causing war here. So move away from Spain. Today or yesterday, the leaders of Italy has announced that Israel actually did something that they did not expect. Palm Sunday is a very important Christian holiday or Christian observance, and the cardinal was not allowed to go to the Holy Church in Jerusalem, and that caused condemnations from various European nations. And not only so, as I was talking about Spain, earlier on, immediately after Venezuela, there was talks of the Arctic Circle about Greenland, in which the Danish parliament actually took the help of all of the European nations, and ended up the US ended up being the laughing stock in the Danish parliament because of Greenland. And immediately we've seen the attack on Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And in this war, the very first thing to be eliminated was the truth. It was the killing of the supreme leader, which has caused this galvanization of the Iranian people, Iranian army. The European position on this war, if you would clarify.
See, the European position is very clear because, as I said, that America wanted. If you look at it's, I mean, had there been any other president, I don't think this is a war that all the Republicans are even supporting. And had there, I mean, without any provocation, in the midst of the negotiations, this war started. And the world was watching it, and it was something very much unexpected. What happened was very unexpected. And as it is, because of the Russian-Ukraine war, the European economy is at a very crisis point, or inflation is on. And we saw that, after when Trump took over, it was not that he was very friendly towards his NATO allies. So he's talking about NATO all the time. The kind of tariffs he imposed. I mean, this is something. Yes, with all the European countries. What he did to Canada, he started calling Canada the 51st state of United States.
Of course.
So. Yeah. I mean, one has to look at that. Now, Trump is talking about taking over Cuba. It was not only Venezuela. When what he did to the Venezuelan president, it is something you don't do to a sovereign country.
That has not happened in the last 100 years.
Yes, it has not happened. I mean, you just can't call people and take over countries because you have the military might, and then what you are saying that you will take over Cuba. I mean, Cuba is literally in a blackout since January, and tariffs, Canada. I mean, it is going over and over again. As it is, Europe was very frustrated, and Canada took a very definite position on it. And why should I mean, it is. Foreign policy, this is something the Indian Foreign Minister Jaishankar said very clearly, that foreign policy is very commonsensical also.
Right.
You do what your common sense says. You don't, cut your nose to spike at others. So why should the European countries get involved in this war? I mean, there is no reason. Even the International Atomic Energy Commission is saying that, okay, Iran has enriched its uranium, but it has not produced nuclear weapons.
Right.
Weapon capacity is not there. So what does the United States want? It wants that Israel should be the only country in that region which would have nuclear power. And what Israel is doing to Gaza, the kind of, the flotilla, the kind of protests that were there, those were for the Palestinian people. European countries have seen that. So at the end of the day, it's not only the leaders. I mean, in a democracy, the people matter.
Of course.
And Donald Trump is one president who says one thing in the morning, another thing the next morning. And when he says that regime has changed and they are in a they are negotiating, and Iran is denying it, one really, you can't negotiate and deploy troops
at the same time.
At the same
it's very
time.
contradictory.
I mean, and call it victory. I mean, what kind of victory is it? If it is victory, then why are the troops being deployed? I mean, what happened in Iraq? What is happening in Lebanon? I mean, they have literally bulldozed those places. Then, talking about turning Gaza into a resort. I mean, what kind of human rights, what kind of human values? If you look at the plight of the Palestinian people, and then they would, and if they talk of exporting terrorism, this is one thing they keep on talking about. I mean, this is in a way spreading Islam. This is a kind of a racism, and the kind of domestic policies even Donald Trump has taken. It has divided, I mean, created a very divisive society inside America also.
2 Americans were killed in the hands of ICE.
Yes.
Enforcement.
So, I mean, what kind of economy America would inherit post-Trump era? That is also, and not only economy, I'm also saying that the kind of values systems one has to see.
Of course, people do say that some of these actions are very un-American, and that is how common Americans look towards it. Taking away from your comments, in the Iraq war, it was stated by the leader then that Iraq was in charge of weapons of mass destruction,
There
which
was
weren't never
weapon.
found.
No, it
because
was never
it
found.
wasn't ever there, and that is very important to understand. What is the U.S. position? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a short break. After the break, we discuss regarding our region. Do stay. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantho.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With presidency of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantho.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan
Opening an open war conflict with them.
National Affairs. We were joined by Norman Floyd Barnes. I must thank him for his contribution today on this very program. And in the studio we have Professor Amina Mohsin, and I want to discuss about Bangladesh towards the end of the program, where we stand as on the 32nd day of this war. We know that there has been huge queues from all around, not only in the capital Dhaka, but elsewhere in the 64 districts of Bangladesh. Not only so, we are a nation that is heavily dependent on oil because it is important to run the factories, to run daily mobility of 200 million people. And we know that this mobility is directly impacting on our GDP. And one would be very cautious to talk about the very latest government we have. They are back in power after a very long hiatus of 17 years. How they plan on tackling this issue? Of course, I know for a fact that the foreign state minister for foreign affairs is talking to various countries from across the globe, and Iran on the other hand has said that Bangladesh may use the Strait of Hormuz to pass through peacefully. How are you seeing this, ma'am?
Thank you so much. I mean, as you pointed out, that this government is very new, and it is difficult. When it took over power, it had its hands full. It's
Right.
not that it was an easy situation that it found itself in, not only politically, socially, economically, and on the top of it, we had Eid also. I
Right,
mean,
a
when they said
holiday.
it's not only holiday, it's also, you know, festivals. So you have to give Eid bonuses and all those things. So those things are there, and Ramadan, all those celebrations were there. So I mean, in a way, festivals are good because it puts the lid on the problems.
Right.
But at the same time, when the holiday is over, you face the reality. Till now, I haven't seen any clear as such, you know, like plan what we are going to do about it, and long queues are there. I think you have to deal with this at two levels. At the domestic level, we have these strong syndicates.
Right.
So if it is important that the government cracks at those syndicates. That is very important. And also, I think people do panic buying. You know, they store up. I have seen, you know, literally seen people, they carry jerry cans to buy petrols,
right, and
hoard it in their house. I mean, this is something our citizens should understand, that this is an emergency situation,
and they should not be doing
they should not be doing it, and they should like, there are different ways. Government has already, I think, issued a statement that one should go online. So academic institutions, schools, they can go online.
And that strain on that dependence would be removed.
Yes, and you know, to use public transport, the government made that statement. But using public before, you know, one starts using the public transport, one has to understand that the public buses that ply on the streets, they are not in a condition where people can really get in.
Right.
Particularly for women and children, it is very hazardous.
So
yes, so these infrastructures government need to take care of. I mean, not only for emergency situations like this. I think Dhaka city and Bangladesh would be much more livable if the public transport system could be made at least, you know, like something which people can usable. If you look at Pakistan, if you look at India, even Nepal, their public transport systems are very good. But our public transport system is very bad. Again, I'm saying because we have these syndicates. And corruption is there at all levels. These have to be cracked. I mean, this is something that the government need to address at the domestic level. And the citizens, not everything can be done by the government. The citizens also have to play a responsible role. That is also very important.
Right.
The other point that I would say at the international level, India has agreed, I believe, to supply
Yes,
because
and
we
they
do not have
supplying diesel.
Diesel,
to
yes.
our country.
So, and our foreign minister is scheduled to visit India
Yes.
on 7th of April. So
Right.
I expect that this issue would be would come up. But we have to build up our infrastructures. We have to understand that instead of mega projects, we have to take care of the basic needs of the people. And then, you know, there are the Southeast Asian countries are there.
Right.
That is something that we can look at. Asian countries are there, Japan is there, so one has to explore the different possibilities. And we have, I mean, Iran has allowed, has said that it wouldn't allow Bangladeshi ships to go. But if important question that we were discussing is that even if we have that kind of infrastructure to go and get that back, if not, then maybe we'll have to request other countries, you know, and use our flag for that or something like that. But these are expensive long-term ventures. But I think the interventions have to be made at three levels, you know, citizens, domestic, then international, which involves the region as well as the global. And these are the different things, steps that I think we can do.
Ma'am, I took a very important detail from your statement. India finds itself as friends and allied with Russia. And we know that they have been purchasing their crude oil requirements from Russia as well. So that is where Bangladesh needs to understand that the neighboring countries are helping them out.
Yes, but thing is that Bangladesh does not have the facility to clean that crude oil.
Refining
that, which India has. That's why I'm saying that Bangladesh needs to build up its infrastructure.
Right. Very important statements coming from Professor Amina Mohsin. I must thank her for her contributions and, of course, insights onto today's program regarding various issues from domestic and international issues on Iran, as well as our Washington, D.C. correspondent, Norman Floyd Barnes, who has given immense support to the success of this program. And with that being said, I want to finish today's International Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned on the program. To support us, please like, comment and share our programs on social media such as Facebook and YouTube. With that being said, this is Shamsul Alam Pantho and I'm signing out on International Affairs.